The house owner, Frederick West, is accused of murdering the 3 women whose bodies were found in his back garden. Mr. West is due to appear before Gloucester magistrates on Monday. Excavation work at his house will continue through the weekend.
1994. Fred West and his wife Rosemary are charged with multiple murders in Gloucester. TV entertainer Roy Castle dies of lung cancer. The IRA launches 3 mortar strikes at Heathrow Airport. But it wasn't all bad news. The Channel Tunnel opened, the National Lottery was launched, and Wet 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 were #1 in the charts for pretty much the entire year. You know I love you, I always will. Okay, that was bad. But 1994 also saw the release of some much better music, none more so than an American punk album from a band I only discovered by accident. This is Albums That Changed My Life. This is the story of Green Day's Dookie. Hello, my name is Richard and this is Albums That Changed My Life. In this episode we're going back to 1994. It was a year which saw Manchester United win the double. Aston Villa won the League Cup, beating Manchester United in the final, while Arsenal won the European Cup Winners' Cup, beating Parma in Copenhagen. Elsewhere, Pete Sampras won Wimbledon. George Foreman became the oldest heavyweight boxing champion at the age of 54. There's still hope for me yet. Elsewhere, Nick Prince won the British Open Golf Championship. In music, this hit by Wigfield was one of the big sellers. Along with You're the Best Thing by D-Ream, and of course the unforgettable Wet Wet Wet. You know I love you, I always will. On TV, Wipeout aired for the first time while we saw the final episodes of That's Life, and Jim Will Fix It. In the cinema, 4 Weddings and a Funeral was released, which contained this little known song. You know I love you, I always will. Other film releases that year included Speed, Dumb and Dumber, and Interview with a Vampire. As for me, well, by 1994, I was married with 3 children and we'd just moved into our new house in Romford, and I've got a new car, a Ford Sierra Sapphire in metallic blue. Lovely. This was also the year I discovered the Britannia Music Club. Who remembers them? Basically, it was the Amazon of its day, a mail-order music catalogue where you got a discount on CDs if you paid full price for so many throughout the year. Now, one of the other things that they offered was their album of the month, and unless you cancelled it, they would send it to you automatically along with your next order, but you still had to pay for it. Well, in April 1994, their album choice had been Green Day's Dookie, but as I'd never even heard of them, I had intended to cancel it, but I forgot. So when my order of Park Life, Boxall and I, and His and Hers arrived the following month, it included the extra bonus of Dookie. The cover picture fascinated me. If I'm honest, I was in no rush to play it, and it sat on the shelf for a couple of weeks before I finally decided to pop it into the CD player just to see what it was all about. And I was instantly struck by just how good it was. Dookie was actually Green Day's 3rd album, but the first on a major label and the first to be produced by Rob Cavallo. Recorded in Fantasy Studios in Berkeley, California, it would go on to sell 20 million copies worldwide and turn Green Day from US punk nobodies into global superstars. And it was easy to see why. Singer Billy Joe Armstrong was just 17 years old when he wrote most of the songs, and most were autobiographical, tackling subjects such as domestic violence. I'm all busted up, broken bones and nasty cuts. Accidents will happen, but this time I can't get up. And confused sexuality. 17 and strung out on confusion, trapped inside the room of disillusion. I found out what it takes to be a man. Your mom and dad will never understand. But for me, it was more about the music and the energy rather than the stories behind the lyrics. Now, I'd been a little bit too young to really appreciate the UK punk movement of the late 1970s although I had been heavily into the new wave that followed. But my tastes have changed over the years, as we've seen from previous episodes in this series. And as the 1980s morphed into the 90s, I'd become more of an indie fan, stuff like the Stone Roses, Suede, Blur, Pulp, along with acid house and hip hop, while I'd also rediscovered my love for the Beatles. So loud American punk rock was never going to be my thing, or was it? From the opening bars of the first track, Burnout, a cheery song about teenage apathy, I was hooked.
I'm not growing up, I'm just dead now, and I stepped in line to walk amongst the dead.
Track 2, Having a Blast, which was about a mentally ill character who plans to blow himself up, carried the same energy.
Check it, all you down with me. Explosive touch shapes of my spine. Nothing's gonna change my mind. I won't listen to anyone's last words. There's nothing left for you to say. Soon you'll be dead anyway.
Up next, the slightly calmer Chump about Armstrong's ex-girlfriend Amanda momentarily eased off the gas.
Maybe it's just jealousy and mix it up with a violent mind. A circumstance that doesn't make much sense, but maybe I'm just done.
But nothing prepared me for track 4, the highlight of the entire album and still one of the best songs ever recorded. The bass-driven Long View about teenage boredom.
Bite my lip and close my eyes. Take me away to paradise. I'm done and bored of you and blind and I smell like shit.
Incredible stuff. Other single releases followed. Basket Case about anxiety attacks.
Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Am I just up?
And Welcome to Paradise, which described the rough neighbourhood Armstrong had grown up in.
Some call it songs, some call it nights. I wanna take you away, slay a lot on my own. Welcome to paradise.
Later, we get more bitterness about Amanda on the stunning She.
I do not just be now, well, that's me, but I'm for you. Are you feeling like that's such a tower fire? Scream at me until my ears bleed. I'm taking it just for you.
Then there's Sassafras Roots, another song about a wasted relationship.
Well, I'm always like you, with nothing else to do. May I waste your time, dude?
The final single release from the album was the slower When I Come Around, the nearest we got to a ballad.
I heard you crying loud all the way across town. You've been searching for that someone that is beyond of the crowd. As you sit around feeling sorry for yourself. Well, don't get lonely now.
The album ends with the brilliant Eminous Sleepers about two old friends meeting up after years apart.
I saw my friend the other day, and I don't know exactly just what he became. It goes to show it wasn't long ago that I was just like you, and I think I'm sick and I wanna go home.
In the end, allegedly written about the relationship between Armstrong's mother and stepfather.
I figured out it's all about it. I don't think I like what I said, so I hope I will be there in the end if you come around.
And the final track, FOD, about a long-running grudge.
My belly's aching now to stand.
that point, I'd assumed the album was finished, but I noticed that the CD had carried on playing until finally we ended up with this rather strange bonus hidden track all by myself about stalking and other things we'd rather not get onto here.
I went to your house, but no one was there. I went in your room, I was all by myself. You and me had such wonderful times.
So while I may not have heard of Green Day before Britannia sent me this album, I am so glad that they did. The following year's Insomniac album was maybe even better.
Stranded, locked inside myself. My own worst friend and my own closest enemy. I'm branded, now I'm trusted. Never trusted anyone while I'm myself. I'm my senses on being a pessimist. I'm a loner in a catastrophic mind.
But even that didn't come close to the excitement I felt the first time I heard Dookie. And nearly 30 years on, I've seen Green Day live numerous times, bought every album they've ever released, and they remain one of my favourite bands of all time. So while 1994 was all about weddings and funerals, for me it was the year I discovered Green Day, and life would never quite be the same again. Britannia Music Club, I thank you. My name is Richard, and this has been Albums That Changed My Life. If you have enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, and why not consider subscribing to the channel. I'll be back next time with another album that changed my life, but what album will that be? You just have to stay tuned to find out.
I went to a shrink to analyze my dreams. She says it's like a sex that's bringing me